Most of us are familiar with images of Pocahontas talking to Grandmother Willow in the animated Disney classic, or the Na'vi literally forming a physical connection with the Tree of Souls in James Cameron's Avatar. But while the fluorescent beauty and biotic unity spiritualism of high-budget films is comfortable and arguably preferable to older ideas about American Indian savagery, it neglects a colonial history with a basis of exploitation, intergovernmental relationships, and cultural misconceptions was a failure to negotiate competing notions of the meaning and value of the natural world. The legacy of that failure extends far beyond an unsophisticated cultural iconography into contemporary legal and political contexts that continue to have an important influence on the American Indian experience. For my thesis, I plan to explore the trope of the ecologically noble savage through a case study of the rise and fall of a mining company in the Little Rocky Mountains of north central Montana. From 1979 to 1997, the Canadian-owned Pegasus Gold Corporation operated 2 cyanide heap-leach gold mines just outside the Fort Belknap Indian Reservation, which consists of the Gros Ventre and Assiniboine tribes. In those 18 years, thanks to the approval of 21 expansion projects by state and federal and regulatory agencies, the 2 Pegasus mines eventually become the largest gold mine in the world. This was all despite fairly transparent evidence that the mines had discharged cyanide, lead, arsenic, and acids into waterways that led onto the reservation, and citations from the Federal Environmental Protection Agency. Along with the Fort Belknap community, resistance to the mines included state and national environmental NGOs, including the National Wildlife Federation, environmental lawyers from across the U.S. West, and certain departments of the Montana state government. 2 Indian groups, called Red Thunder and Island Mountain Protectors, protested the mines not just as public health and environmental disasters, but also because of their violation of important cultural sites in the Little Rocky Mountains. This case is rich with historically consistent injustices, the frustrations of overlapping sovereignties, and bureaucratic negligence. My goal is to capture the economic and environmental perspectives of all those involved. From the Pegasus spokesperson, who once referred to a stream of toxic sludge as an act of God, to Indians employed by the mine, to the Missoula filmmaker who prefers to refer to Pegasus using 4-letter words. Underlying this analysis are 2 overarching goals. The first will be to evaluate why, despite persistent opposition to the mines and fairly robust regulatory mechanisms, the government failed to protect the environment and the human communities surrounding the mines. More specifically, I hope to situate this case into a prevailing trend in the U.S. of environmental degradation disproportionately harming poor communities and communities of color. The second goal is to locate the mountains that Pegasus defiled in Gros Ventre and Assiniboine history and tradition, and to evaluate how shifting human relationships with those mountains has influenced not only lives and livelihoods, but also individual and collective Indian identities.